Imagine waking up in Kuwait City. You turn the tap, and nothing comes out. Not because of drought, because a missile just hit the plant that turns seawater into drinking water.
Wait, are you saying a single strike on one factory can cut water to an entire city?
In July 2026, a US airstrike shattered a desalination plant on Iran's southern coast near Jask, cutting off drinking water to thousands of people in surrounding villages. On July 18th, Iranian forces answered by targeting a power and water desalination plant in Kuwait, the second such attack in 2 days, damaging one of the country's key sources of drinking water.
So a war over oil and shipping lanes is now literally shutting off people's taps, first in Iran, then in Kuwait?
Exactly. Kuwait gets about 90% of its drinking water from desalination, and other Gulf petrostates rely on similar coastal plants bolted to their fossil fuel grids. When those plants become missile targets, water security, energy infrastructure, and civilian life are all on the front line.
So their water security is literally bolted onto energy infrastructure on the coastline?
Exactly. These are huge, multi-gigawatt complexes that burn oil and gas or tap the power grid to push seawater through reverse osmosis membranes. Think rows of intake pipes, turbines, chemical tanks, and transmission lines. Fossil fuel water factories feeding entire megacities.
And they're sitting in missile range during a war with Iran?
That's the nightmare scenario unfolding in 2026. Iranian forces have already damaged desalination and power facilities in Kuwait and Bahrain, and threaten to target more water plants if their own fuel and grid infrastructure is hit. Military analysts warn that hitting just a handful of key plants could cut off water for millions of people within days, forcing mass evacuations from modern desert cities.
So this isn't just oil wars anymore. It's war over drinking water tied to the same fossil systems.
Right now, the Gulf produces about 40% of the world's desalinated water through more than 400 plants, many co-located with power stations that feed the regional grid. When you attack those plants, you're not just attacking water, you're hitting electricity, energy infrastructure, and the entire urban economy at once.
But isn't desalination our big technological fix for water scarcity? Why are we calling it fossil fuel water?
Desalination does save lives in water-scarce regions. There's no way around that. The problem is how we power it. Globally, desalination already consumes roughly 75 terawatt-hours of electricity per year, about 0.4% of world power, and emits around 76 million tons of CO2 annually, mostly from fossil-fired plants. Under higher warming scenarios, meeting global water scarcity purely through desalination could demand over 1,600 terawatt-hours per year and emit up to 1 billion tons of CO2, a non-trivial slice of global industrial emissions.
So we've built water security on top of the same fossil grid that's destabilizing the climate?
Exactly. In the Gulf, desal is tightly coupled to oil and gas exports, air-conditioned cities, AI data centers, and heavy industry. Every cubic meter of fossil fuel water comes with a hidden footprint. Fuel burned, brine discharged back to the sea, and more stress on an already overworked grid.
Watershed? That's the super salty waste, right? How bad is that?
High salinity brine, mixed with treatment chemicals, can damage coastal ecosystems and fisheries if it's poorly managed. So we've glued water security to fossil energy, coastal ecology, and wartime targeting, all in one infrastructure system.
Okay, this sounds bleak. But what are the realistic alternatives to keep people's taps on without putting water on the front line of missile wars?
There are three broad paths Gulf states and other dry regions are already exploring. First, solar-powered desalination, using large PV fields and batteries dedicated to running reverse osmosis plants, decoupling water security from the fossil grid. Second, nuclear desalination, tying ultra-reliable baseload reactors to desal plants, which some Gulf countries are experimenting with via projects like the Baraka nuclear plant in the UAE. Third, wastewater reuse and efficiency, turning cities into circular water systems so desalination is the emergency backup, not the only lifeline.
Does shifting to solar or nuclear really change the war risk, though? The plants are still on the coast.
You're right. Clean energy doesn't magically make facilities invisible. But it does change the stakes. If a desal plant is less entangled with the fossil export economy and the main grid, attacking out yields less strategic leverage, and local systems can be designed with redundancy, distributed smaller plants instead of a few mega hubs.
So the real upgrade is system design. Many smaller nodes, cleaner power, plus backup storage and reuse.
Exactly. Think of a future Gulf city where rooftop solar, district-scale batteries, and treated wastewater carry most of the load, and desal plants are hardened, diversified nodes instead of single points of failure. That's water security built on resilient energy infrastructure, not water held hostage by fossil pipelines and war threats. If we build desal plants, pipelines, and tanks out of low-carbon materials, green steel and low-cement concrete, and power them with regional solar manufacturing and nuclear, we shrink the climate footprint of every liter of water. At the same time, AI data centers and high-tech industry in the Gulf will demand huge amounts of both electricity and cooling water, so tying their growth to cleaner grids and smarter water systems is crucial.
Because otherwise, we're locking billions of people into a future where drinking water depends on fossil fuels and is a legitimate target in every regional conflict.
Exactly. Attack desal plants in a hot war, and you don't just spike oil prices, you evaporate human security. The choice on the table now is simple. Fossil fuel water sitting on the front line of missile wars, or resilient, low-carbon water systems that can ride out both climate shocks and geopolitical storms.
So if you care about big infrastructure, sustainability, and geopolitics, this is the hidden story. How countries are rewiring water, energy, materials, and AI infrastructure for, or against, a sustainable future.
This channel is for people who like exactly that. Big infrastructure, sustainability, geopolitics.
And if you don't want to miss how these quiet systems decide who gets to drink clean water in the next crisis, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who still thinks water is just a charity project. Thanks for watching. Stay green, stay healthy, stay informed.